If you're getting ready to get into a fight, you got three brothers going to step up beside you. It doesn't matter if you run wrong, they're going to defend you, right? I remember they asked me to come back last year. The people of the county wanted to salute me and give me awards and things. And when I came back, all they talked about was my dad. He opened up a gospel music station and played gospel music for 30 years. And the people, to the people that he's an icon, he and my mom. My mom died 12 years ago. My dad is still doing well. He's 83 years old, remarried to a great woman. And Dad, I called him the other day and he said, boy, he could grab a bear, he body slam him. So he's doing well. 83 years old, and people there love him. And again, it goes back to the old gospel saying in Genesis, but Cain and Abel, when Cain was angry that God had not accepted his offering, and this thing about killing his brother, Abel. And God came to Cain, he said, Cain, why are you angry? If you do well, will you not be accepted? If you do well, will you not be accepted? My father did well. In Haywood County, he's accepted and loved by everybody instead.
Wow. So you had a great upbringing with your family, mother and father, and 8 siblings. It's right. Total of 8. I'm the baby of 8.
You understand that big family?
Those big family dynamics, it's hard to beat. Tell me about that.
Oh my goodness. I grew up, I have such a sturdy foundation of brothers and sisters, cousins. It's like a clan. And you know, if you have trouble, you have something to fall back on. If they have trouble, they can fall back on you. If you're getting ready to get into a fight, you got 3 brothers going to step up beside you. It doesn't matter if you run wrong, they're going to defend you, right?
Yes.
It gives you comfort in this world, and I still have it right now. I support them. They support me. We're each other's greatest cheerleaders. And there's no envy. There's no anger. There's no strife. Like brothers and sisters, we might disagree, but we disagree behind closed doors. But in the public, we show a common front. We defend one another. We love one another. We forgive one another. We show forbearance to one another. The same things we need to do in America. Love, forgive, show forbearance. And that way you stay together. Because if you're going to live 70, 80, 90 years, you got to have it. And so my family, I mean, I could have made it in this country without it.
That is a pretty neat, a small family, and expands across the country.
Yeah.
I mean, that unity, talking about problems behind closed doors rather than rallies every other day, protesting this person and protesting that person.
Well, that's kind of where we are, and I started working in a prison after college, went to the University of Memphis. And in their prison, I kind of saw something. I thought we had overcome. My father had bought us out of poverty. He had bought a home. He still lives in that home. He bought it in 1972. And everybody was proud of it because, everybody lived in shacks and nobody had a house with central heat and running water. My father was the first one in the family to do it. And he still lives in their home today. And I started working in a prison thinking that everybody had overcome. But in the 90s, when they had the Biden-Clinton crime bill, they were locking up a lot of young black men, the whole crack cocaine epidemic. And first time I saw it, and I started asking the black intelligentsia, what is this all about? And they gave me this old refrain, evil, rich, white Republicans hate black people. And this one, I said, oh, really? I was young and naive then. So I quit my post, started working in the nonprofit arena. And when I got into those ghettos to try to keep young men from going to jail, I saw something pretty interesting. I saw those evil, rich, white Republicans anywhere in those ghettos. You see a unicorn or a leprechaun before you saw one. But what I did see were a lot of black Democrats making a lot of money off of the chaos. And I saw that it was most black preachers, not all, most black preachers, most black politicians, and most black civil rights workers. And I wrote my first book about them, and I called it The Iron Triangle. And I found out that these guys were just conduits between the black community, the poor black community, and rich white liberals up in Manhattan and in Los Angeles. And their job was to make sure that black people voted for the Democratic Party by hook or by crook. Bottle liquor and a pork chop sandwich, street money, souls to the polls. It was a machine, man. And they cared nothing about those people. They cared about themselves. And right now, the black community is at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America, even though they are as conservative as white conservatives are. They spread the lie of racism, hatred, envy, and strife. And they made sure that they kept those people down at the bottom, begging and afraid, so they'll vote for the Democratic Party. And it's a shame.
Yeah, and that's where your book came from.
Yeah.
I mean, that's based on your experiences of so it wasn't just some scholarly writing based on some ivory tower said, hey, maybe this would be good or sociology standpoint. You actually got to witness that.
I did. I mean, I went down there with my nonprofit and talked to black ministers. Thought it would be easy. I thought that they couldn't know. They couldn't know, right, what's going on, right? How do you support this party? You can't know it. So when I would go down there and show them that this party supported abortion, they didn't care. When I go down there and show them that this party should support it, gay marriage, against the Bible, LGBTQ, castrating little boys and calling them little girls, they didn't care. I would go in there and show them that the welfare state was destroying the black family. Matter of fact, it was designed to do it. That they were paying women who got pregnant to kick the baby's father and their husbands out of the home. And the more babies they had, they would get more money as long as the man was out in the house. They didn't care. And so I finally came to the you guys are part of the problem. Y'all part of it. This is not a mistake. This is a design. And so as I started doing my research, I started doing more and more of my research, I started going into the civil rights movement.
So before we leave that, but so with your interaction with your gospel singing, did you sing in a lot of like,
Oh, yes.
churches? Yes, and
Yes.
so they listened and they loved your artistic talents, but they didn't appreciate the biblical acumen, or what happened?
The people did. It was always the pastors who were the problem.
Wow.
It was not the people. So we have these two things. We have the church, and of course, there's no need for the black church any longer. No need for it. You and I are old enough to remember when the churches were segregated. They're not any longer. That's the one thing we did right. We say color doesn't have anything to do with Christianity. I don't know of a white church now that the black people can go to that not welcome. It just doesn't exist. Unless it's some type of crazy church, you know? And again, I don't know any of those. But that seems to be a non-issue now in the United States of America. So, but the black minister needs to keep his power. And he keeps his power by saying, I can deliver the black vote to the Democratic Party. So he wants to keep their congregation under his control. This is why when they see white people moving into the black community, they call it gentrification. I mean, they call it gentrification.
Yeah.
And when they see white people moving out, they call it white flight. I said, well, come and go, right? So these guys try to keep their power. And my father, who, as I just told you, we were involved in going to the churches singing gospel music, and then he started the black gospel radio station. My dad told me something when I got involved in politics, and it was striking because I was brought up in the church, I was brought up in the church, I was brought to obey. And when I got involved in politics in my early 30s, he sat down and he said, look, I'm going to tell you something. He said, I brought you up to revere the church, to revere God, not man. The church and God, not man. He said, you're going to start getting involved in politics, and you need to understand something. And he looked me in my eyes sternly and grabbed me by my arm and said, you trust a bootlegger before you trust a black preacher. It stunned me. He said, do you understand me? And so when I started reading these books by Gunnar Myrdal, The Negro Problem in America, done in 1934, he said the same thing. He said that they are designed to perpetuate slavery, to keep black people under the control of the white Democrats and to keep them under their thumb. And as I read more and more about it, I said, well, this is interesting. And then when I went down there myself and I saw it, it was a shock. It was like that Denzel Washington movie, Training Day, where he took the little guy, how they showed him how the streets really work. And the little guy was just blown away. He said, it can't be this corrupt. He said, I'm sorry I have to expose this to you, son, but this is it. It was like I was in Training Day. I had no idea that these guys were just conduits between the Democratic Party and the black community. And even now, when you look at them, it's the same thing. No matter what they do, they parrot what the party tells them to do and they tell the congregations what the Democratic Party tells them to tell them. And that's why you have this cultural flux in the black community.
And it's so interesting because you mentioned that the people, I mean, they're conservative. Yeah, but they care about marriage. They care about families. They're not for all this craziness. They're So how do they have so much control?
We were taught early on, since slavery, to listen to the black preacher. He's a conduit between man and God. Many black people couldn't read. Many are not connected into politics. And one of the biggest things now, the biggest problem we have is that the Republican Party does not go into the black community, and they don't politic. They don't defend themselves. So the Iron Triangle can go down there and say anything they want. The NAACP can say anything they want. The black preachers can say anything that they want. And the black politician really says anything that he wants. And we don't go down in these areas because of a deal that was made with by Lee Atwater and the black Democrats in 1994. It was interesting. And it's a terrible phrase, but they call it Operation Rat F. Ginsburg, Ben Ginsburg, he's still alive now, was part of it. He and Lee Atwater did it. In 1994, Lee Atwater took over 1992, Atwater took over the RNC. I'm sorry, let me go back. 1988, when George H.W. Bush became president. Lee Atwater was the manager of his campaign. When Bush won, he gave the RNC over to Lee Atwater and said, Lee, I got one thing I want you to do. I want you to make sure that we take Congress. We haven't had the Congress in 42 years. I want you to find a way for us to win the Congress back. Lee knew they had to go into redistricting. He knew that in 1990, after the census, they would want to redistrict these congressional districts. So Lee went to these southern states, which were all Democrats back then. The Democrats ran the southern states like that. Lee went to these state legislatures and got with the black members and said, "Look, we're gonna make a deal with y'all. If you guys vote for our redistricting plan, this is what we'll do. We'll make sure you have a congressional black district, because they didn't have anybody there, majority black district. We're going to make sure that we draw your districts in a way that you're going to double your numbers in the state house. And on top of that, this is the coup de grace. We will not go in and campaign to any of those districts in perpetuity as long as you vote for our plan." The black Democrats said, you got a deal. So the Republicans and black Democrats signed a deal, voted on that. They created these majority black districts, the one that Jim Clyburn and the rest of them have now. And the rest of the districts came almost completely white, which meant they were more conservative. And so they voted on them. They in 1994, Newt Gingrich came in, took over, and that was it. And it's worked for the GOP ever since, because in the last 30 years, they've had the House 22 years, and the Democrats have only had it 8. But before then, the Democrats had 42 years in perpetuity. So now it's hard to break that deal because, of course, it works for both of them. And the GOP has stayed out of the black areas for the last 30 years. So all of the racism, all of the hatred, all the envy and strife has not been countered, and the black community hasn't heard it. So this is why podcasts like mine, Brandon Tatum, we're going out there, April Chapman, we're going over their heads now. We're not asking permission anymore. And because we've done that, this last election with Trump, the GOP got 20% of the black vote for the first time, probably since Reconstruction. And that's how the GOP won. And we did it without asking their permission. We did it by saying, this is right. This is what God wants. We're going to go talk to the people. And when the people heard it, they responded. And we're going to keep on doing it.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I've been in city government for about 20 years and was elected. And a lot of times back then people say, oh, don't go downtown. They're not going to listen. And I said, I'll go anywhere, because conservative, absolute messages work anywhere.
Yes.
And so I would go and have a good time. And some people that I thought were very friendly, and then it would show up in a meeting and they just hijack me. And it's like, wait a minute, what happened with that? And it was an interesting dynamic. And people wouldn't go and campaign. I don't know.
Well, you don't want the stress. Who else we call racist and this and that? Nobody wants to have to deal with that. But I recall when I did my movie, Will You Go to Hell for Me? Veronica Braxton, our husband Tim, showed it down here.
No, I was there. I loved it.
It was amazing how the people responded to it. Yeah. And Veronica told me that they used the template of my book and that movie to go talk to the black community. And as you see now, Lynchburg is a republic.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing that bothers me about that all. With all the success they've had in Lynchburg and in Amherst County using the template for my movie and for my book, I live around here and I know my neighbors, and wow, we talk about it a lot. The state of Virginia and the state GOP hasn't given me one phone call. Oh, well, they didn't ask me to come do one speech. They had to sit down and talk with me one time. I go all over the nation. I've gone up the week with the West Coast from Maine to Florida. You know the only state that I have not spoken in? My home state. Oh, and my goodness. I've spoken in West Virginia. I have spoken in Maryland. I've spoken in South Carolina. I've spoken in Utah, California. And the only state that I have not had a speech in for YAF, Young Americans Foundation, Turning Point USA, Black Sit, or just somebody calling me and say, "Vince, can you talk?" It's here in Virginia. And all the people I've had to speak is Veronica, Tim Braxton, it's our list for, and guess what? We carry Lynchburg.
Wow. Yeah.
But that's one of the things that you talk about. They like to play the game of conservatism. But when it comes down to really bringing it home, I'm glad to see that Russell Sears' campaign is running a good conservative campaign.
Yeah, absolutely.
If this should have been run 8-10 years ago. Should have been all over the state.
Yeah.
But now people are finally hearing a conservative message. And even though Spanberger has like 3 times more money than she has, she's gaining on her. Why? The message. Yeah. And I wish they had been doing it last year. She'd win. Yeah. I hope she wins now. But you see how strong the conservative message is when people hear it? She's gaining traction on a woman that is a sitting congressman that has 3 times more money than she has. And Spanberger is scared to death because Winsome Sears' campaign is saying there was stone cold facts.
And it's interesting in campaigns, you know, the first thing is energize your base.
Yes.
And lots of Republicans, they we don't want to offend, kind of what she's about that water. We don't want to offend. We don't want to step on toes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we don't say and don't take a conservative position.
Yeah.
If you take a conservative, hardcore position, you energize the voters to shut out. So, and I greatly appreciate that message. And I can't believe they haven't done anything in Virginia.
Well, you say they like to play nice. And they don't understand politics is a contact sport. And you don't help anybody when you don't tell the truth. You don't help anyone when you don't tell the truth. Look, I go for it hard. And on my podcast and in my books, I say that the leaders of the Democratic Party is an evil institution. They're a party of perverts, liars, psychopaths, anti-Christian bigots. And once they got Kamala Harris to come in and get Cardi B and Offset and the rest of these people on their campaign trail, I see a bunch of thoroughs and rappers on top of that now. This is all they do. Yeah. I told her watch Kamala Harris run for president. She got Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion up there shaking and gyrating and twerking, bringing rappers from the penitentiary up to talk for her, thinking that that's the black community. And I said, she don't know us. She's up there lying about being black and she's Indian. It's this type of stuff and this type of disrespect. And the reason why Donald Trump was so effective, as flawed as he is, he would have been told stone cold truth. And they had to deal with it. He said the last time, he said, I've known her for years, and for the first 3-4 years I knew, she said she was Indian. Now she's black. And everybody was crazy. But he educated us and said, what? I thought she was black. No, I thought he's telling the truth. And people will get mad at him, and when people started checking, they said, oh, I will be. She's been here then for the last 60 years of her life. Now all of a sudden she's turning black.
Yeah.
And that's when, and we started putting that out there, that a lot of the black community turned on her.
Yeah.
But it's because Donald Trump had the nerve to do something that nobody else in the GOP had the nerve to do. Then what? Tell the truth. Just tell the truth. And now she's trying to cosplay it. She's trying to jump from one side. She's trying to play, and people got offended by it.
Thomas Sowell has a great quote. He said, if you care about somebody, you tell them the truth.
That's right.
If you care about yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. And that's, I mean, they tell them what they want to hear.
And we don't want to say something simple as, no, you can switch your sex. A man is a man. A woman is a woman. It's no, I've decided one day to be, I was born a man, but the day the mom decided to be a woman and I'm a woman. We used to look at that and say, son, listen, if you believe that, you need help. We're gonna take you to the doctor. We're gonna take you to the altar and pray for you. But nobody buys into it. Nobody. Matter of fact, when you had these 2 old Southern fathers that we would have never said that to them. You would have never been the nerve to walk up to each other and say some mess like that.
So I grew up in Minnesota, And I remember the first time I ever saw cotton, I heard about it. They had dairy farms, so they had a little different, but came down, it was in Tennessee, a friend of mine, and it was like, cotton actually grows on a field. I had no idea how that worked. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no, you had one of those stern fathers like I did. Maybe not in Southern, but he was one of those stern old
Yeah.
Midwestern men.
Fought in World War II, through the Great Depression.
Well,
Yeah.
They were men. Yeah. I mean, those guys. When you look at them, they didn't talk much. They didn't. They went out on the street gyrating and protesting. They worked for a living. Yeah. They took care of their families. They showed a good example to their children. You understood where they were. They were binary on these things. Now, when I look at the family, there's a problem. It came out of the civil rights movement with feminism, where they started telling women that you can raise children alone and you don't need a man. And many of them bought into that lie. And now they are raising boys that know nothing about manhood, that either on one end of the spectrum, they're either gay or they are a thug. There's no in between. And because of this, these young men actually believe that they are victims. And it bothers me because as a Christian man, when someone comes up to me and they start talking about white supremacy, I said, the flip side of white supremacy is black inferiority. You're speaking with your mouth that white men are superior to you. Son, do you believe that? Then he says, well, no. Then what? Well, it's a system. What are you talking about? It's no system. You think a white man is sitting around the table every day, so I'm going to try to make Tyrone Johnson's life a living there. I'm thinking about you. Yeah. These guys got to work, got to feed their families, got to pay a mortgage, got to get prepared for retirement. They're out there competing with you like we all do. And your job is not to make them feel worse about themselves. You need to feel better about yourself. That's what you do. I mean, there's a lot of guys that got in the ring with Muhammad Ali thinking they were better than him. And what did he do after he knocked them out? He started there, right? Yeah. America is a capitalistic nation. And they can sell you on this line that they are going to give you respite and allow you to achieve. You're not. Because you've had 50 years of it. And guess what the black community is, at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America.
And you compare that with the 40s.
Yes.
What was the total opposite? Was
completely different. Yeah. The black community was on an upward trajectory between 1940 and 1960. The black community had the greatest reduction in poverty in the history of the world. It went from 80% poverty to less than 30% in less than one generation. And it was on their way. And even though we had segregation and things weren't ideal, we were going to end up, if our trajectory had continued, to be where the Asians and the Jewish people are in America right now. Maybe that's a small minority, but doing better than the white community. But then the civil rights movement hit. And the big Marxists wanted us. And there it was. And LBJ, MLK, they all got together and told black people they were victims. And that the only way that they could achieve is if the white society allowed them to. And that was a lie. And changed the whole trajectory of the black.
And you talked a lot about maybe a different view than, the MLK has been kind of revered in the church a lot. You have a little different perspective.
Yeah, MLK was very interesting what happened when I started really doing research on MLK and not just listen to the talking points. The thing that really rocked me about MLK the most was that he was not even a Christian by our Christian standards. He didn't believe in the deity of Christ. He didn't believe in the resurrection. He didn't believe in the virgin birth. If you don't believe in those things, you cannot be a Christian. That's just what we believe. That's the foundation of our religion. It's come to find out that when he started his SELC, it was started by Marxists and communists. Stanley Levison was a non-communist in America. Bankrolled his whole organization, got money from Moscow, wrote King's books. Edited his books, did his taxes, wrote his speeches. Clarence Jones, King's lawyer, was a communist. Bayard Rustin, the guy that did all his organizing, was a communist. The guy that ran the SELC, his name was Hunter Pitts Odell, was a communist. And JFK came and told it. Bobby Kennedy told it. Get these communists out of the organization. We're affiliated with you now. If you go down, we go down. King said that he would, And then J. Edgar Hoover found out that he was still affiliated with her. And that's when Bobby Kennedy said, put the wiretaps on him now because we can't trust it. This is when they found out about all his shenanigans, the orgies, and 45 girlfriends, the cocaine use. And you look at these other things, like, for instance, he got the Margaret Sanger Award in 1965. For those who don't know who Margaret Sanger is, she started Planned Parenthood. She started this thing called the Negro Project that said that black people were human weeds and that she wanted to exterminate the black community. And she was going to use the black preacher as the vehicle to do it. So King got the first Margaret Sanger Award in 1965. He was kicked out of the National Baptist Convention, which was the black church, in 1961 for causing a riot on the floor, killing the preacher at the convention. So he started his own church, and it was called the Progressive National Baptist Convention. And there's a bunch of perverts and weirdos that just believe in the social gospel. And black people still to this day think the King was a traditional black gospel preacher. He wasn't. And then you go with the whole welfare state thing, with the man out clause. The Moynihan Report, 1965, said that we got to put the black man back in charge of his family because we're finding that black men are becoming, that they are getting jobs and they're becoming employed, but black women are getting on welfare. Moynihan found out that AFDC, AIDS for Family with Dependent Children, was being used in a nefarious way. They were telling these women, if you didn't get married, you can get welfare. So Moynihan told LBJ, we got to stop this or it's going to destroy the black community. LBJ, he said, what you want to do? He said, let's use as much government money as we can to put the black man back in charge of his family. LBJ told Moynihan, go take this to the civil rights community. They need to sign off on it. George Bundy was over Ford Foundation. They were funding retreats for Martin Luther King Jr. and his crew. He said, I got a retreat for King now. Let's go down there and talk to him. Moynihan went with George Bundy. As George Bundy said, it was one that Moynihan got out of that room alive. They cursed him. Al called him everything but a child of God. The feminists in the movement said, instead of using welfare to put the man over the family, we wanted to get him out of the house. So they went to LBJ and demanded that instead of putting the man back in the house, they put the man in house clause in welfare. They said that if a man was caught in the house, the woman could get no more welfare. And in one generation, we went from 80% black children being born to two-parent families to 80% being born out of wedlock. And Elmer K's fingerprints were all over it.
A complete change.
Complete change.
Wow.
It was a time when black families were more intact than white families were.
Yep.
And the welfare state behind the civil rights movement did all of that damage. And it's been covered up for all of these years because it works for the liberals in the Democratic Party. They have the black vote. They have us on the plantation. They have us having to depend on them for everything that we get. And they are not going to let it go. And that's how it all started.
And it's so hard, going back to your discussions about the preachers. It's like, how can you, I guess, if you don't believe anything in the Bible, how can you grab anything from the Bible and make it authoritative? Like if you say you don't work, you don't eat. If why we don't kill those that were found in the womb. And I mean, yeah, it's that we have two genders. I mean, all of these things are just.
They thought it's a thing called black liberation theology in the black church. It was a Marxist construct to use religion to press Marxism. And you're not supposed to know that Marxism is atheism. Yeah. So you had these idiots in the church pressing their own demise. It's the same thing that me and Tucker Carlson talked about when I was on Tucker's show. Tucker talked about how the bourgeoisie in Russia were wearing lapel pins to support the people who wanted to kill them. And while they were either trying to live in solidarity with the Bolsheviks, and at the end of the day, the Bolsheviks killed them all. And he said that these people were trying to have solidarity with their enemy. And it's the same thing that these black preachers, and when you talk to them about it, they're too ignorant to know that they're doing it. So they saw black, you get Malcolm X out there talking about, Christianity is white man religion, Martin Luther King Jr. had this weird concept of Christianity. They said it was nonviolent. Christianity is not a religion of nonviolence, it's a religion of non-aggression. There is no virtue in you sitting in your house at night and allowing men to come in and rape your wife and your children. And you say, well, I'm a Christian man, I can't do anything. There's no virtue in you and I leaving out of this room and seeing a young 3-year-old girl get accosted. We just stand there and watch it because we're non-bodied. No, We go grab the guy, we whoop him until he stopped fighting and call the police and take him to jail. King said that you lay down and just get beaten by people until they get tired and then they'll give you what you want. No. So Malcolm came out and said, this is a white man's religion. He's teaching you to be a bunch of punks and this and that and the other. These guys tried to counter it with black liberation theology to say that Jesus Christ, because he was oppressed, would have identified with the black man and not the oppressor, which is the white man. Which is a lie, because you and I both know Jesus Christ was never oppressed.
Not a chance. Voluntarily, really laid down his life because he loved us.
And nobody touched him until his time had come.
Yeah.
So these guys said, well, Jesus was oppressed. He was identified with black people over white people because blacks were oppressed. And the same stupid ideology of being the chosen. We're the chosen. Black Hebrew Israelites, and everybody wants to say, I'm owed something that I didn't achieve. And so they tried to throw this lie at black people, and a lot of black churches grab hold to it. And that's why the Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons and the Jamal Bryants and all of these people out here hollering white supremacy and white oppression and systemic racism. That's where all of that comes from. It's an anti-Christian concept, because as an heir of Jesus Christ and a child of God, I cannot be inferior to anyone. Anyone. God gave us all gifts. And that's why people like you and I believe in equal opportunity, not equal results. Why? I'm a little bit selfish. I want you to be good at what you do. Because when you're good at what you do, I benefit from it. Heck, if you're a good mechanic and I pay you, my car is fixed. If you're a good doctor and you heal me. If you're a good chef, I get a good meal. If you're a good mechanic, if you're a good carpenter, my house is done well. So when we all find our gifts, and we want to look at these children and say, that's what he's good at. Let's cultivate that. Yeah, we want to find the kid that's going to cure cancer, don't we? We want to find the kid that's going to be the next Elon Musk, what's going to be the next Steve Jobs, that's going to do these great things. When we find them, we all benefit from it. But these people want equal results, and this is where DEI, and this is where affirmative action comes from. We want a bean count. We don't want you to go out there and find your gift because we don't think you have one. See, and I despise that type of thinking, because I've found that people in this world, I've never found someone that didn't have something about them that was amazing. And you found that amazing thing, you say, son, that's your gift.
Yeah.
And then they do great things, we all benefit from it.
Yeah, that's very well stated. And that's capitalism. I went back to 1776 with Adam Smith.
Love the nations.
Yeah, that's right. And it's interesting how this iron triangle has had such a hold for so long. It wasn't just like recent, because you still see the black preachers up there.
Yes.
And you still see these politicians that are acting in a certain way or say certain words so they can get what they want.
They're very good at it. But what we've done, we've been able, and technology has finally caught up with us. When I did my book, The Iron Triangle, I self-published it. And I didn't know how well it was going to do. But I did some research, and they said that the odds of a self-published book selling over 10,000 copies, is the same odds of getting struck by lightning and a shark biting you at the same time. Well, my book sold over 30,000 copies. And when people read it, it blew their minds. The Book Authority gave it number 61 on the greatest political books ever written in the history of the world. And I've gotten so many accolades from this book, and so many people have thanked me because it cleared things up for them. And of all of the things I've said, of all the controversy that I've caused, I've been on Tucker Carlson, I've been on Sean Hannity, I've been on Laura Ingraham, I've been on Ben Shapiro. I was at Patrick David and on the stage with Candace Owens the night that Donald Trump won down to Fort Florida. I've been on Jason Whitlock. I did 6 interviews with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's a great friend of mine, and when he got assassinated, it broke my heart. I went to his homegoing. All the stuff I've done, I've said this on every last one of them. None of these black preachers will come out and confront now. And I leave all of my debates and all of my interviews with the same thing. They know I'm telling the truth. They know they can't defend themselves. And they know their time is come. The information is getting out. I say it loud and I say it unequivocally. If your pastor is affiliated with the Democratic Party, he's an apostate. Period. He believes in castrating little boys and calling them little girls. He believes in giving adult vasectomy to little girls and calling them little boys. He believes in 9-month abortion and sometimes perinatal abortion. That means abortion after the child is born. Yeah, because Democrats voted against the Born Alive bill that says if a child survives an abortion, the doctor has to render aid. They voted against it. They believe in a lot of sex trafficking, fentanyl across that border. Fentanyl is killing hundreds of thousands of Americans a year. They're against Donald Trump blowing up the drug boats as they come to America. Does he have the legal authority to do it? Forget that. You should be applauding him. Every one of those boats he blows up probably saves 10,000 lives. Oh, no, they don't like it.
So you mentioned about the Born Alive bill. I mean, that's going to be that if it passes this General Assembly, it'll be a constitutional amendment.
Yes.
And where are the black churches? Where are the preachers getting up and say, not just the black churches, but all the churches?
Yeah.
Lots of churches have kind of said, well, we got to kind of stay out, but I think they got rid of the Johnson Amendment. They can get up and they can actually endorse. Dr. Falwell, years ago, when he endorsed my campaign in 2004, he said, hey, at that time, he said, I can't tell you who to vote for, but I'm voting for Jeff Helges. And so he would get her out. But now they can come out, just like you said, can't they?
Yes. They can do it, and they need to, but the black church won't do it because they're bought by the Democratic Party, and they want
Money, the economic.
it's the money.
Yep.
They have this thing called Souls to the Polls, where every Sunday before the first Tuesday of the election, they put their congregants on the buses and take them to vote at the polls. Only about 90% of them are going to vote for the Democratic Party, and you got George Soros and his group paying for Souls to the Polls. George Soros, an atheist, is paying for black Christians to go. Why? Because they know the black Christians you vote for the D. And it's the weirdest thing in the world. You got to have this Winsome Sears. And people think that black people always vote for the black person. No. Winsome Sears is a black woman. She has a black husband. She has black children. She has lived the exemplary American life. Married to one man, businesswoman, Marine, done well. We look at our issues, the black folks agree with them. She's pro-life. She's pro-school choice. She's pro-Second Amendment, defending yourself. She's all of it. And then you got the Democrat, Miss Manberger, pro-LGBTQ, boys and girls sports, boys and girls bathrooms, boys and girls locker room, abortion up till the 9th month, open borders that come in and take your jobs and put the pen on, all of it. But they're going to go for the D. And I can bet you $10,000 Abigail Spanberger is not in black churches. The black they do is telling these people to do it. It's the Outer Triangle that's doing it. It's these black preachers that are running interference for her. You think she's going to go into a ghetto? No. Think she's going to go into one of these Kojic churches? No. She wouldn't know what to do in those churches. She's setting up her money, and she's paying these people. And these people are apostates, and they're hypocrites. And their time has come. And right now, it is my duty in my life to expose who they are. And I'm telling the people out there, if you vote for these people that are telling you, they're not playing with it. These people are telling you that if you vote for me, I'm going to allow demented men to go into the bathroom and watch your wife and your daughter urinate. And you vote for it? You better not get my ass around. You tell me that's like that, man. Because, I confront men with it. And I asked them, did you know? This is how I always change their minds. A lot of them don't know. They just don't know. And then when I asked them that, they say, oh, come on, man, ain't nobody doing this. Then I show it to them. I said, now what you going to do? And then they said, wow, man, I didn't know this. I said, now you know. What are you going to do? And when I give this rote information to them, I went to a church in Memphis, Tennessee. It's called World Overcomers Church. The pastor is conservative. And he wanted me to come down and talk to his congregation. And it is the biggest black church in Memphis, Tennessee. Martin Luther King Jr. got assassinated in Memphis. And he told me to come out and talk to his church, Black History Month. This is 2 Februaries ago. And I said, you sure? Said, yeah. So they was out in the wheels. House of Wheels, great man. So 10,000 member congregation, the church looks like a coliseum. I go and I call Tucker and tell him about it. Tucker says, this is a great opportunity, and him and Sean Hannity were joking. They were taking bets on how long I was going to be before I got shot. Tucker said 10 and Sean said 5. And I said, if I'm going to be 5, you'll see. Went to that church, and before I went up there, I talked to Pastor Williams about it. I said, Pastor, this is your church. I want to know the rules here. I said, what do you not want me to say? You want me to mention Democratic Party? He said, I want you to mention them by name. I said, okay. It was amazing the response I got because I set it all up. And I said, this is a party of slavery from 1800 to 1860, the party of Confederacy from 1800 to 1865, the party of Jim Crow from 1865 to 1965. Now they're the party of non-with abortion, transgenderism, open borders, taking your guns away, taking God out of the public square, taking the Bible out of libraries and public school system, putting porn in, having drag queens come there and shake their behinds in your children's faces. The Democratic Party is the evilest institution in the history of the world. And everybody started clapping. I was like,
Wow.
the whole church.
Yeah.
And I had to have these. I have the sermon on my podcast, the Everett Ellison show. If you want to watch it.
Yeah.
At the end of it, my dad was there. My whole family was there because I told him I need y'all there just in case he started jumping on you.
We need the family. You need the big guards. Yep.
And at the end, everybody gave the standing ovation. I went down and hugged my dad.
Yeah.
And the whole trajectory of everything changed after that. And I sent it to Tucker.
Because he's the one that didn't like you to be thinking about being in politics. Recognize and don't. Yeah.
And so I sent it to Sean and I sent it to Tucker. Tucker said, Vince, do you know what has just happened here? He said, this has changed the trajectory of politics of America. He said, because for years we didn't think the Black community would listen to this message.
Yeah.
You proved it wrong. He said, no conservative has ever spoken to a congregation of 10,000 Black people before, ever. And not one has ever done and got this type of relation. There's a Tucker, I've been telling y'all for years that all we have to do is take the message to the people. And you know who took it to the people for the first time? Donald John Trump. You know why? He wasn't part of that deal that Lee Atwater made.
Yeah.
He took it to the inner city of Detroit. He took it to the inner city of Philadelphia. He took it to Atlanta. He took it to Milwaukee. Oh, the Republicans didn't like me, Donald Trump. I'm not part of your deal. And because of that, enough people switched their votes in those states and gave them all those. He didn't win them by much, but he won them by enough. And when we looked at the polls at the end, he said he got 20% of the Black vote, but the Democrats have been getting 90% for the last, since the 1960s. And it changed everything. And now I told them, let's finish it. We got them back on their heels. You seen those old boxing matches where you hit the guy and you strike?
Yeah.
You don't lay off of it. You start laying the haymakers on him until he quits. And so we have to keep it going. That's what Charlie Kirk was doing before he was assassinated. We were still having events all over this country. Even though no election was being held, we were having events where we kept the pressure on. And now they're taking out Charlie, they think they stopped something. They haven't. We've gotten stronger.
Yeah. And it's interesting as you were talking about, earlier you said everybody has their calling and their gift. And obviously you have the calling and gift. And, you know, if a old white guy like me comes up and speaks in a Black church, I could have said the exact same thing. I could have even had your voice inflection and enunciation. That would have been anything.
Yeah.
But because you were called to be in that purpose, and that sends kind of little shivers down my spine thinking about how that went with the congregation of 10,000 people that never have done that before. But you were a messenger that was called, and you said, hey, I don't want to go. But Lord said Vince, and Vince went there and delivered the message and started a movement. I mean, which is fantastic. So thank you for that.
Well, it's helping America, and we know America. The whole world watches America. You know, this make up less than 3% of the world's population, but we run it. See what Donald Trump's been able to do by peace in the Middle East. Now we're going to he's going to the Ukraine thing, and now he's saying America's not going to use his power no more to push LGBTQ. And abortion. Tell the African nations and Muslim nations, Joe Biden, if you want our money, you got to allow LGBTQ and abortion and climate change. It was we wasn't a nation that exported that type of thing. We exported Christianity. We exported freedom. We exported truth.
Yes.
We would send our men over there to fight and die, and then come at your America and give you your nation back. We just wanted enough land to bury our dead on and give you your nation back. We wanted to make the world safe so that people can practice freedom. And now we are telling nations all over the world that if you don't bow to a satanic ideology, the United States of America will not assist you. Trump said that stops. Why does that stop? People like me and you, people here in our he said Lynchburg said, we want this to stop. And we're going to hire a man and elect a man that's going to do it. These are our ideas that are being pressed. And I don't care what these fools on the left say. They're going to holler, you know, I challenge them all the time to debate me on issues about the black community. All I tell them is this. I look at the black community, and my Bible tells me that a tree is known by a fruit it bears. You can't get good fruit from a bad tree, a bad fruit from a good tree. Each tree of each fruit is after its own kind. So if the black community is at the bottom of every socioeconomic statistic in America, if they're at the bottom, that means that the fruit is rotten. If the fruit is rotten, the tree is rotten. And what is the tree? The iron triangle. The black preacher, the black politician, the black civil rights organization, the Democratic Party. And as I said again, it's an evil organization. They have never done America any good. They tried to destroy this country 4 times. Slavery, Confederacy, Jim Crow, and now look at what they're doing. No King's Day. If Don Trump was the king, he'd knock them all up. If he's the king, he'd shoot them all in the street.
So you mentioned about Donald Trump and the trend, the things that he has done differently. I noticed in the White House he had Bocelli singing opera,
Yes.
and with that kind of classical music.
Yes.
I know you've talked somewhat about some of the music, like the hip hop generation or the rock genre. How has that influenced?
It's terrible. I remember when I started hearing it when I was in my 30s. And, I had a reference to music like you did. We heard Alice, and we heard the Beach Boys, and we heard the Marvin Gaye. The music was good music. I started hearing this hip-hop, killing, raping, selling drugs, the sex, violence, misogyny. And I said, this is not going to have an effect on me. But what is it going to do with children born now who have no reference to good music? Man, now 30 years later, we see it. And it is rank insanity. The great writer Thomas Wolfe said, he said that culture is the arts elevated to a set of beliefs. So arts determine your culture. Your culture determines your politics. And the arts have just become polluted and dirty and nasty, especially in the inner cities. It is horrible. And the music that's being played, the people that they are using to say that they should be paradigm of virtue, like there was a time, in the 80s, we all raged with a W at Hugh Hefner and like Flint at the White House. We've never done that. But now these people actually have some of the raunchiest, nastiest people in the world on the stump for them. And when you have someone endorse you, you're saying that they and I have the same values. So when Cardi B endorses Kamala Harris, and she has this X-rated music, when Meg Thee Stallion and Offset, these people talk about killing police, doing terrible things to women, selling dope on the street, murdering people, then you have a presidential candidate that says, I want your endorsement. You're saying that our values are one and the same. The Democratic Party is no longer the loyal opposition. They are treasonous. They have allowed an army to invade this country, giving it sanctuary in their cities. Sanctuary, aid and comfort until they want to activate them. And then they probe us with things like No King's Day to put them in specific areas to see how we're going to respond to it. Donald Trump says that the federal government says, you can't have these people up here. Will you please use your police and your sheriff's department to arrest them and send them to us? No. We're going to give them sanctuary. We're going to give them food, water, shelter, and medical care. And you better not do anything about it. Trump says, I'm sending the National Guard to get them there. And then they want to complain about it. He said, well, if you just know what you're supposed to do, get your police to arrest them and send them to us, I wouldn't have to do this. But now I'm going to do it because I'm not going to have an invasion army in the inner cities of America waiting to pounce on us whenever you guys give the okay. It's amazing to watch. 30 million people in this country, and they control congressional reinforcement. And if you can control congressional reapportionment, you control the electoral college, which controls who the president's going to be. They know exactly what they're doing. And this is why they've shut down the government, because they need a magnet to bring these people up there. And Donald Trump has taken one of those magnets away. And what is that? Free health care. And they've shut down the United States government to make sure that illegals can have free health care in the United States of America. So say it again, man, this is an evil institution.
And so the Iron Triangle, with the Democrats have expanded that not just from the black community, but they use the media.
Yeah.
I mean, now I think the media has now been caught red-handed so many times.
Yes.
And they recognize that these were recorded. And I just said this a year ago, and now you're, how is that being used to, I guess that's a whole nother topic, but you talked about the crime in the inner cities. What can we do about crime in the inner cities?
Well, you know, Donald Trump is doing it. I've done a podcast on that, and it's showing how the people in the inner cities appreciate what Donald Trump has done. They're seeing that crime can be controlled. It can. They choose not to. One of the ways they massaged this was the whole George Floyd situation. And they talk about racial reckoning. And you saw they had to defund the police thing going on. But after that, they made the inner cities hostile to proactive policing. But police used to, if you saw a guy walking around with a bulge in his pants and an overcoat on that's 100 degrees, he pulled you over and check you about guns and drugs on you, take you to jail. No, that's racial profiling now. Used to be if a police officer caught a murderer or a drug dealer on your street and he was arrested after he resisted arrest, the population would applaud the police officer for doing a great job. Now they got the cameras on them. Yeah. Trying to wait for them to do something wrong so they can have them locked up and have all of his possessions taken. So what the police say? I'm resigning. I'm getting involved in the insurance industry or something. I don't need this. I don't need it. And so or they stopped engaging because they didn't want to have to go to trial or be called a racist. And now the criminals are just in the cities doing what they want. And the people are asking the politicians to do something about it. But since the politicians support this type of thing, wow, drug sales are going up, prostitution is up, pornography is up, sex trafficking is up. And when you ask these politicians where do they get their money from to run for public office, that's where it comes from. These cartels make billions of dollars. All of these cartels have lobbyists in Washington, D.C. All of these lobbyists have for fundraisers. And this is how the cartels pay for Democratic politicians to stay in office. I have a book that I wrote about it called Crime Inc. And it tells about how the Democratic Party is a criminal organization, how they get their money from unions, how they get their money from cartels, how they get their how they steal elections through street money and souls to the polls and ballot harvesting. It chronicles all of it.
What about back to the rap and the hip hop music? How's that? Is there money coordinated with that?
Yes, Hollywood. Okay, you have these guys. You have these rappers. These rappers are just ignorant thugs on the street. But then these guys in Hollywood know how to take these guys, take their music. They are shadowy figures. Def Jam Records, Interest Quote Records, the people that were dealing with Tupac Shakur and Biggie Smalls, all of these guys, P. Diddy and all of them, these guys are behind the scenes. And they make millions, but they keep these rappers out front selling this poison. And when you go to the basis elements of human society, you know, the porn industry, the sex trafficking industry, gambling. Yeah, these people are always there to take advantage of people. And when you have a society also where the father is out of the home, where fathers don't want to allow this stuff to be played in their homes and won't allow their children to engage in, they can take full advantage of that right now. And they're doing it. And in the city, it's just the proper place to get dirt. Yeah, they take full advantage of it.
You talked about George Floyd, and I remember the BLM movement that was, and I'm originally from outside of Minneapolis, Bloomington, and watching how $2 billion of property was damaged, destroyed, and the police and fire nowhere to be found because they had to just stand
down. That's it. The big city mayors were telling the police to stand down. And that taught America something. I said, if you ever have anybody tell you that the Second Amendment is not needed in America, you bring up these George Floyd riots. When the big city mayors told the police to stand down and allow these criminals to kick in doors, go into your house, go into your businesses and take what you what they wanted, and you had no recourse. If the militias had not been there, Lord God, what they would have done.
And I think about like when the local governments, you paid local taxes. They always say, oh, because you got the police and fire when you call 911, we'll be there. Yeah. Well, you've been paying taxes and you called 911 and they, hey, we'll get there in a couple hours and we won't even do anything. And then, I mean, how does that justify a bigger government?
See, and that's what these guys, they want people to believe. They tell the lie, and I love playing with police officers. I love police officers. I was the correctional officers. I love them. And we talk when they say that police officers are to protect and serve. Police say, man, we can serve you, we can't protect you. Your protection is us with you. I mean, somebody kick your door at 3 o'clock in the morning, the police not going to be there. And at the best, at 5 to 15 minutes away. So for 15 minutes, you're on your home, my friend, if you can get to the phone and call us, you know? So the idea that the government can protect you is not true. You have to protect yourself, not only from criminals, but also if they take enough of your guns, well, you're going to have to protect yourself from the government itself. And so I always play with these people that say, they want to get the guns off the street. I say, okay, you come here and go, and you come here and go. And you say that the police are hunting you, like you said, George Floyd, right? Police are hunting you. And what is your remedy to being hunted? To turn your gun into the guy that's hunting you?
Yeah.
If you really believe that the police was hunting you, you should want 10 guardians, right? To defend yourself. So what's wrong with you people? Make up your mind. We all know that the first gun restriction laws were passed after the Civil War to keep them from free black men, because they didn't want the free black men to be able to defend themselves against the night-riding Ku Klux Klan Democrats who were out there trying to subdue them. And if you take a man's guns away, it's like pulling the fangs from a lion and cutting his claws. In the jungle, he's exposed. The founding fathers understood this. We know what happened when the redcoats came. The first thing they wanted to do was disarm the colonists. And they said, colonists, throw down your weapons. What the colonists say? Redcoats, come take. It was all. And the fact that each man had his own gun showed that each man could defend his own freedom. And it is his. What did John Locke say? Your freedom is an unalienable right given to you by God. It is irrevocable, non-transferable, and unsellable. It's yours. This was another line that Martin Luther King Jr. told. He said the government guaranteed your freedom. No. You defy government to come try to take your freedom. You guarantee your freedom. When he said 5 times that I have a dream speech, that we were not free. He started by saying 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, the Negro is still not free. That was a lie. We were born free. It was a gift from God. And you don't ask government for your freedom. You defy government to come try to take it from you. Thomas Jefferson reiterated this in his Declaration of Independence when he said that our freedom was an unalienable right. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are what? Life, liberty, and absolute happiness. Government's job is to ensure these rights. If this government doesn't ensure them, you have a right to change that government out. And how do you change it out? By force. So when King said that we have to come to government for our rights, we say no. We determine our freedom. When he said that, when will we be satisfied? We will never be satisfied, not until justice rolls down like water and righteousness like a mighty stream. That's a fancy way of saying never. What does our Bible tell us? God says, if you keep your mind on me, I'll keep you in perfect peace. Perfect peace. What did Christ say when he left? He said, my peace I'll leave with you. The King said, we will never be satisfied. That's not a Christian concept. Man can't give you your satisfaction. You get the satisfaction from God. When he said that he was having a dream, that one day he wouldn't be judged by the color of his skin, but by the content of his character, why didn't he leave the color skin out? He just have a dream one day I'll be judged by the content of my character. What, am I supposed to be ashamed of the color of my skin? Am I supposed to walk around apologizing for being black? And he made black people believe that there should be ashamed of the color of their skin. You only apologize for something you're ashamed of. So when he said that, he had the black community walk around saying that they're ashamed of, that they have to satisfy white people, where our Bible tells us you're supposed to satisfy God. I'm not supposed to be concerned at all about how you view me. My job is to love you. If you don't love me, that's your problem. But I am supposed to love you. What did he say? Be kind. Love those. Love your enemies. Love those that falsely accuse you and persecute you. But that doesn't mean you're going to pinata. I love you, but that doesn't give you a right to put your hands on me or to hurt me or mine. Because if you do it, that two things will get you off of me. And that is Jesus and my 30 faith. Don't try me. And that's how all free men live. You bring good people to you, push bad people away. You keep your friends close. Watch your enemies. Love them. But that doesn't give them license to hurt you. And so he put that speech out there written by a communist that convinced black people that the only way you can achieve in America is by getting someone else to sign off on your freedom, sign off on you being okay. I'm not going to judge you by the color of their skin. I tell people, judge me by the color of my skin. Underestimate me at your peril. That will be your biggest mistake. And I've come to find in America that most people look at you. So of course, I'm black and you're white but then what? It's nothing. You judge me then by everything else. And so I don't want to be overlooked. I don't want people to say, well, I don't see business coming. I'm a business white man. That's cool. You're a white man. That's cool. I'm 6'2". That's cool. We look at each other, but it's not the determining factor. But it does tell us a little bit about the other. If a person from South Korea came in here, and he's the first generation South Korea, you say, wow, man, how'd you get here? What, tell me your story. You know he has a story to tell. You know that something happened in his life to bring him here. You see a black person that has achieved greatness in America, oh, tell me your story. I know it must have been difficult. It tells you, a woman tells you something. To overlook that, I think, is sacrilege. And I enjoy sitting down with a person who's a Jewish American, ask them about their story. Vietnamese American, ask them about their story. A white man in the South who overcame the prejudice of the South to become a great Christian. What's your story? And the stories are always amazing. But to discount certain characteristics about them, it's never done me any.
And lots of those struggles are what makes us us. I mean, that's how we exercise. That's how we get, more intelligent and get wisdom, is by struggling with deep concepts like John Locke and reading our founders.
Exactly.
So
trying to understand not just them, but yourself and where we are today. And that's why this deep dive I gave into history of the civil rights movement. If it was such a good movement, why are we at the bottom? If we were where the Jewish people are in America, where the Asians or the people from India are, I deploy. We're at the bottom and sinking and going backward. Black men are the most violent men in the world. Not just America, in the world. America has more children that are born into single-parent households than any country in the world by a factor of 3. Well, we're in a death spiral. Our replacement rate in America should be at 2.1 to keep us constant. No, we are. We're at 1.6 and have been there for the last 10 years. America is dying. And the government and the Democratic Party is...
And with them, most of them are born, based on your numbers, are born in single family.
Exactly.
Yeah, so which is even worse. Not just less of them, but less of them with any ability to have a leg up like you and I have.
Exactly, Father. And we're not just not having children, we're dying younger. Death of despair, opioids, fentanyl, suicide. The blue states are dying. Why? Opioids, fentanyl, suicide, murder, prison, abortion. We have a Democratic Party government who is subsidizing the murder of its own people. We haven't seen such a thing since Nazi Germany. I know people talk about Nazism a lot, but the Nazis were killing their own citizens. And when we look at abortion, how can you say it's not? Especially when you see you're in a death spiral. When you're looking at the numbers of y'all, we can't not sustain ourselves as a nation if we continue this. We're going to die.
We had the Blue Ridge Pregnancy Center banquet Saturday, and it was said that because of 1 year's lack of funding to the Planned Parenthood, one of the largest Planned Parenthood organizations in the country, I think LA, closed.
Wow, didn't he?
And it's just, from 1 year because they are so dependent upon taking money from taxpayers and giving it to their cause. And hallelujah, Donald Trump, who probably had no concept of the pro-life movement like you and I probably had for a long period of time. But he was utilized.
Yes, he was.
And man, what a difference. I hope that you keep defunding that thing for another couple years and see what happens.
Yes, and we have to keep hitting them on the margins, and then we go backwards. And we hit them on perinatal abortion and 9-month abortion. And when they admit that that's wrong, then we can take them back to the second trimester. And then when they admit that's wrong, then we take them back because we lost the debate by refusing to deal with the culture first. We want to deal with the law. And if we deal with the culture, the law will follow.
Okay.
Not if we deal with the law, the culture will follow. So when we show the facts and we have them now, technology has caught up with us.
We get one of the ultrasounds.
Exactly. We can actually see a child in utero in 4K now. You can actually see it. And so nobody can step back and say, that's not a child. We can use the law. We can use, we can use culture now. We have the technology to show people. But what we also have is two diametrically opposed views on what is good in America. They have the ghettos. We have the suburbs. They have single parent families and 3 or 4 baby daddies.
Yeah.
We have family. We have manicured lawns and nice schools. They have shooting, crime, and prison. We show these views to young people and say, which one do you want? Because when I was growing up in Tennessee, even though I was growing up in a small town, I could look on television and I could say, wow, that's what I want. That's how we broke the Russians. They just saw us. They said, well, look at those Americans. Suckers running on beaches and running around in nice cars and they dancing the rock and roll and they're wearing blue jeans and drinking Coke. Everything was beautiful over here. And the Russians over there looking like slumber child, Hey, let's everybody come to town. All of them were cold and teeth white out and they got hungry, eating turnips all the time. And they said, we want what they have. And we sold America to the world. And that's what we need to now sell to Americans. We need to sell our party, our vision, and we need to compare it to their vision and tell the young people in America right now, ask them a question, which one do you want? And when they start hollering and calling us racist, as I told my friends at TBUSA, let us defend Charlie Kirk. I knew it. So if you got somebody that's calling Charlie Kirk a racist, you call me and let me deal with him, okay? Because I knew the man too well. So when somebody wants to call the GOP racist, give us a phone call. Let me deal with it. Because I'm saying it's the Democrats that's killed 25 million of children. It's the Democrats that'll keep your children locked in failing schools. It's the Democrats that are letting fentanyl and drug trafficking on the streets of the city, bringing illegals in that make your rents go up and take your jobs away. It's the Democrats that are taking away your guns and won't let you defend yourself. It's the Democrats that want to take putting porn in your children's life, in your children's high school libraries and won't allow you to pray to your God. It's the Democrats that are doing that. They're the ones that are sexually grooming your children, castrating little boys and calling them little girls, and all this dirty stuff. And when you get finished with them, they're like, well, that's it. Now tell me one thing. Tell me one area that the Republican Party is controlling where black people aren't doing well. Take as much time as you need. One city. They can't come up with it. And if you find black folks living in a Republican suburb, ask them about how nice it is out there. Ask them about how many gunshots they're hearing. Ask them about, is anybody in this suburb burning crosses in their yards or beat them up or slashing their tires at night. Ask them. And you will see you are the one. The Democratic Party is the party that's destroying you. It's not us.
Yeah. And you mentioned early on about your foundation in God-fearing church and a God-fearing family, and we got into with regarding abortion and life. You think about this 5,000 years ago, Jesus, or in the Bible, we read that he knew us when we were conceived.
See,
5,000 years ago. There's no such technology as 4D ultrasounds or the image scanning that you have now that you can say
yes, I knew.
4 or 5,000 years later, we can say, yeah, you see, yeah, this is a baby's got a heartbeat. I mean, it's so with that, even stronger to say, we're believing in something that is true.
That's right.
It's absolute. It's truth because the Bible isn't just a book of suggestions. It's well before its time.
That's right.
5,000 years before we even knew that. God had that written down on a piece of paper.
You know, we're going to look back on this time in the future. They wouldn't want to view it as we saw America do with slavery and Jim Crow. We was barbaric. How did y'all do such a thing? Um, it's going to be shameful when history looks at us now. The same way we look at the Nazi Germany and eugenics, and they're going to say, "How could you have killed your own children?" When we knew that life is about a definition of life is reproduction, metabolism, reaction to stimuli, and the trial is all other. You knew that was a child. How could you say that it's not a child when you can look at it growing in its mother's womb now? No, this is what it is. Very, 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 very simply. People that are irrational and do not want to be held accountable for their actions. Only 1% of these abortions now are for rape, incest, the life of the mother. So 99% of the women are laying down with men, knowing that they can get pregnant. And then when it happens, they don't want to be held accountable for their actions. And they kill the child because the child is inconvenient. It's just that simple. And society used to frown about such a thing. And now you guys have made it cool with your social media, with these evil people even kind of shock your abortion. And what we had to start doing is bringing shame back again. And setting up a society where young people want to get married again. Where they see the benefits of marriage because Aberfeld versus Hodges made it a joke. 2 men can get married. 2 women can get married. They go probably going to start looking at polyamory now. And when you start counterfeiting marriages, the original loses all of its value. And so now children are looking at marriage as a joke. It used to be this thing where people applauded it. It was this great thing. And now anybody can do it. It means nothing. You used to get social benefits from it. You know, the guy that got married, he'd get the higher at the plant. Wow, you got what children is. You know, the guy that was walking around just acting a fool. Now, this guy's married, he gets the job. There were benefits to it, societal benefits. Older men looked out for younger men that had families because they have families. You know, the government looked out for you. You know, they made sure that these social benefits were applied to you. Now, no, they want to make sure all the social benefit goes to the woman that doesn't even get married. Man, she can get SNAP, she can get Medicaid, she can get food stamps, she can get Section 8. She can get anything if she keeps that man out of the house. As opposed to saying, y'all need to get married. Why? Because it's going to be difficult for you to take care of that child by yourself. We're not going to subsidize this any longer. Both of y'all are going to have to come together and take care of the child because we're not. But the feminist movement, who always saw marriage as slavery, and now we look at the damage behind this idiotic ideology. And we have to stand up and say, enough of this. Our nation is dying behind it. We have to take away the enablement that we've given young people to live this type of crass lifestyle. And it has to stop. How does it stop? We got to take all the benefits away from them doing.
Which is a great way. I mean, it's an economic argument which should have been there from a long time ago.
Yes.
So it seems like young people are turning more conservative, religious. You know, you mentioned about Charlie Kirk that you've known him well. Do you think? How do we keep this going? Do you think it's going to last? Where the younger people are becoming more conservative, younger people are recognizing all these other things are, just but like chaff, which the wind driveth away, something substantive.
Everything about America is good at resetting yourself. I think that when you put the mirror in front of it, it makes the right choices.
Yeah.
The one thing the civil rights movement did, it put a mirror in front of America, and a lot of white Americans say this is not right. We need to make sure that we change our ways regarding our other Americans. And the racism on the side of white America has dissipated considerably. The problem, though, is if you love me, but I don't love myself, it's no good. But if I love myself and you don't love me, I'm going to be fine. We taught white people to love us, but we didn't teach us to love ourselves. That comes from Jesus Christ, period. And we didn't bring him with us on this journey. We said that we have to teach white America to love us. White America does. Matter of fact, white America's almost gone broke. Loving us, what, $38 trillion in Great Society money, right?
Yeah.
What it's done us, it hadn't done us any good. So what Charlie Kirk and this Christian movement is teaching people is you have to love yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to go back and say, I want better for myself and for my children.
And not just egotistical loving myself,
Yes.
but because of the King of all creation loves you, loves me.
Exactly.
And if I follow his precepts, I'm going to be able to love myself even.
Exactly. And what as a man thinketh, so is he. Your body's my temple. I live within you. And so when we look at loving ourselves, what did he say? What is the first law, the greatest commandment? Love your neighbor as yourself, and love your God with all your heart, mind, soul, mind.
And your neighbor as yourself.
And your neighbor as yourself. Now, how can you love your neighbor well if you hate yourself? You have to love him as you love yourself. So you have to first love yourself before you love who? Your neighbor. If I'm a drug addict, I'm going to give my neighbor a needle. If I'm a atheist, I'm not going to take him to church. If I'm obese, he'll have us out eat chips. But if I love him, and if I love myself, let's go to the gym. If I love myself, I'm not going to say to him, what you do drugs. If I love myself and I'm going to church, I'm saying, no, man, we're going to church today. I'm going to elevate him because I elevate myself. You and I don't want anybody that don't love themselves. You know, if they don't love themselves, the first thing we're going to try to do is what? Get them to love themselves. Man, you got to cut that stuff out, man. Go to kill yourself. And so when Jesus said, you know, love your neighbor as yourself, that implies self-love. And we miss that so much. And this is why the hip-hop music and the ghettos are so terrible, because they are actually loving their neighbor as they love themselves, and they hate themselves. They're doing drugs. They're involved in promiscuous sex. They're involved in laziness and crime and violence. And so you follow behind that person. What did Jesus say? The blind leading the blind, both fall in the ditch. And so we have to teach them again through Christianity to love yourself. And when you love yourself, you will love others. And when you love others, then you love God. And then when you do that, you have a beautiful society. So what happens? You love yourself, you get married, you take care of your family, you take care of your wife, you gain property. And then because you love yourself, you love others. And I've never met a person that loved themselves and they treat other people right. They treat, and they were so disappointed when the person that they treated with respect ended up not being a good person, because they really wanted to see that person do well. I know you've seen it in your life, people you've tried to help, and they ended up just disappointing you. But we still try. We still go. That's the lesson that we have to get back to. You know, I'm an old athlete, whether you are too, and when you played, you wanted to win. You better not walk out on that football field saying, man, we ain't got a chance. They ain't gonna coach. Coach is golf field.
Yeah, exactly.
Golf field.
Yep.
You can't play for me. That's life. You have to want to be a winner. And from the left, what are you hearing all the time? You can't make it. America's racist. You have to march. You have to protest. We can't do it. It's white supremacy. It's the white man. It's break. And I look at them and say, good God, won't you guys just, and that's what they do, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't try. They're on drugs. Tattoos all over their faces. Walking around looking disheveled. Tom Ford, the great designer, one of the best, makes the best suits in America, said something about America I never forget. He said that before 1960, if you took a picture of any big city in America, you could see all men in those cities. Why? Because they were aspiring. They believed that in America, I didn't have something. He's aspiring. Now, if you see a young man with a suit on, you ponder, what is that young man doing? He's interesting. Because you'll know that young man's aspiring. He's looking ahead. Because now you look at them and they look like they want nothing. They believe they're entitled. And you say, son, that's not the America that we grew up in, and that's why we're dying. So we start there, and I think one of the best ways to do it is school choice. Right, bring these children out of the government educational system controlled by these liberal Democrats that's teaching them all of this foolishness, that by the time they have graduated high school, they believe that they can't make it in America. They believe the game is fixed, and they are full of excuses. So school choice, and I know Miss Sears is for school choice now, and of course our opponent is not. I believe school choice is the number one driver. You know education is key. I mean, if you can't read or write, how do you make it in America? And these Democrats have put together a system, especially in the inner cities, that is designed to keep people at the bottom and dependent on government. And it's a shame. It's a shame.
Vince Ellison, read to him. Man, what a wonderful,
It is.
invigorating conversation.
Look, I live here. I love the people here. I'm never leaving. When I came up to the Blue Ridge Mountains and saw this, I said, this is home for me. I love the people here. I love the character of the people here. You guys are my neighbors, and anything I can ever do around this area, Lynchburg.
I had two of my siblings die, so I may need to call on you for one of those, the backers.
Oh, you know, like I said, I love you here. I travel a lot, going around the country, speaking about these issues. And anytime any conservative or conservative group need me in this area, give me a holler.
Oh, we appreciate it.
Yeah, there's nothing.
We love it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.